What's up, guys? It's Leslie here. I hope you're all keeping well. Just wanted to jump on today to share some of my personal reflections for this year that has been. Generally this time of year, a lot of people will naturally have some degree of gravitation towards rest and recovery and reflection, And I personally have been, for the past few weeks, spending some time deep in reflective state, just looking back at the year that has been and the experiences that I've had over the past 12 months. And, just taking stock and having a look at the types of lessons and learnings that I derive from the experiences that I've had, from the circumstances that I've moved through. And, to start, what a year it's been, right? I think that many of you can really echo this sentiment, regardless of whether you hold, the same or completely polar opposite, opinion about the year as I. It has been a very interesting year, to say it lightly. And, I think that a lot of us have had a challenging time this year. Not in a negative way necessarily, but challenging nonetheless, right? I feel that this statement is true even before we start talking about the global pandemic that we all are experiencing and the very thing that binds us right at this moment. And to me, even funnily enough and kind of paradoxically, the thing that binds us has really been the foundation for, as I've witnessed and observed this year, and what I've really felt, in the past 12 to 18 months is the most palpable sense of division throughout humanity that, I've ever felt in my short time in existence in this world, The lines of division have never been clearer for everyone to see. At this point in time and at this point in history. And it's a very curious thing to think about and reflect upon and ponder. I think that we've all been tasked with a choice, or that really is something that has created this, and it's essentially the choice of choosing a side, And I think that, I personally have, of course, been tasked with the same as you likely have as well, to choose a side, left or right or red or blue or whatever you want to call it. We've been tasked to choose a side, to represent ourselves and represent that set of ideals and beliefs. And what I've found really is that for me personally, trying to enter these types of decisions, and all decisions really, with the greatest sense of objectivity as I can, is that inevitably and inherent in the human experience is that we're always going to bring a level of subjectivity and bias. The culmination of our individual, unique, lived experiences is what colors the lens of perception with which we see the world through. So, and of course that's going to influence and inform the decisions that we inevitably make. Perhaps you can relate. I mean, whether it's yourself or someone around you, someone with the amount of information that is out there, it's very easy to pick and choose whatever sets of data or information or opinion that support your original viewpoint, whether it's to help, bolster your particular stance, or to turn someone else to come to join your side, or to influence someone who is sitting on the fence to come to your side of the argument, that sort of thing. It happens a lot, and I'm no different. I've found myself being much more aware and attentive to things that might support a particular side of the argument that I personally wanted to choose, essentially, that supported the values and principles of the stance that I made. What I found from this, really, like all of this throughout this year, of course, and just watching the state of the world, the lay of the land, if you will, is that regardless of how strongly you believe in what you do and how strongly you stand for what you do, and the side of the argument that you represent, there's always going to be someone on the other side of the argument who believes as strongly as you do, and the very opposite, set of beliefs and ideals. It's inevitable. There's always going to be someone who believes that their set of beliefs is quote unquote right. And you know what? In some contexts, you both might be right, and in some contexts, you both might be wrong. So what I've found really in looking at the lay of the land and reflecting upon these types of left-right, red-blue arguments and choosing a side, essentially, even taking away these already established ideals, right? Let's just say we're picking a side. In picking a side, regardless of which side you pick, regardless of how well-intentioned you believe your side or your team is, or the ideals of your team are, or how vehemently you believe them, or how passionately you believe them, or how altruistic you believe your choices are, or how noble your choices are, or how well you believe your choices or your side represents the best interests, quote unquote, of humanity. It doesn't matter which side that you pick, as long as you're picking a side. You're contributing to division. Because in picking a side, inevitably you're fighting against something, right? And that is to create division. It is a contribution to separateness, right? And I'm not saying necessarily that is a negative thing to fight for what you believe in. Not at all. I'm just asking to think, and this is what I've reflected upon personally. I just thought that, of course, in picking a side, it means that there is an opposing side, which inevitably means that we're creating division, And to me, there's this sense of, knowing, or groundedness in the knowing that helps, inform the decisions that we make, I know for a fact this, I know for a fact that, this is why I believe that, right? But again, another reflection to make on this type of way of thinking is that, can we truly know for sure? I'm saying for sure, right? We can read things that are posted online. We can listen to the things that, notable personalities say, on podcasts and through the mainstream media. We can read, scientific papers and reports and things like this. We can look at propaganda and various other bits and pieces that are, the myriad of things that are available to us, and we're frankly being bombarded with on the internet. We can look at all this stuff, but how can we, as an individual, if we reflect on it ourselves, as an individual, how can we really say to ourselves that this is 100% unequivocally, quote unquote, the truth? If we look at the internet, anyone can write anything on the internet. With words, anyone can say anything they like, regardless of whether it represents a universal truth or not. Even with, scientific papers and things like this, who's to say that these, documents haven't been modified, this and that? I'm not insinuating that they are. What I'm suggesting and offering is that there's always a possibility that these things aren't unequivocally, without fail, the truth. Whichever side of the argument that you lie, there's always a possibility that it's not the truth. Especially if you do the only test that any individual truly can rely on to, really understand whether it's the truth for themselves. And I'm saying for themselves, not universal truth. It's the old adage of seeing is believing, right? Did you see the person right? Did you see the person do this or that, right? What is their interest in all of this? All of these sorts of things. All I'm offering is that there is always a possibility that what you believe is true may not be true. And on the counter as well, what you believe is false could be the truth, right? There's always a possibility. And we must keep that in mind at all times, in my sense of it, right? Because there's a level of faith involved here. There's a level of faith and trust that we're putting in the words of, basically the word of other person, in the words of others. And for me, I come to a point myself upon reflecting, on the year that has been, in that to choose a side, as I said again, is to contribute towards separateness and divisiveness. And for me, I've come to a point now where I choose, both sides, and I choose neither side as well. It may be wishy-washy, and it may be, some paradoxical to some and contradictory. But to me, this is the way that, I personally want to contribute my energy and my focus. In reflecting again, whichever side that you believe, no matter how well-intentioned, how vehemently you believe it, you're still creating divisiveness and separateness. So how do I contribute towards togetherness, and union? It is to choose both and choose neither at the same time, And for me, this requires a different level of trust. It still requires faith and trust, but it's a different level of trust. See, in choosing a side where you have faith in, the word of mouth of someone else, or, it's a he said, she said type situation, whatever format that is, there is a level of faith and trust in that, I believe in what is written on the internet. I believe in this person, this notable figure, because I trust their word. I believe in this because it's a scientific article, whatever it is, right? There's a level of trust. Remember, even if it's science, right? If that is your argument, but it's science, we must remember that at one point in history, in human history, not that long ago, that we also believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. And we may say that now we have greater technological advancement to help us, disprove that previous, claim. And that may be true. But don't forget as well, at that time and that point in history, we also thought that we had the most advanced technology to date in history, which again was not false, right? So again, coming back to the point of choosing, divisiveness or togetherness, and the level of faith and trust involved in both choices. The difference of the faith and trust is that in divisiveness, in choosing separateness, I feel there is there's a negative connotation towards that. There is a level of judgment, there is a dualistic tendency there of looking at what's right and what's wrong, right? We trust in this person in telling us what's right, thus we judge those who believe what is wrong, right? And that is driving the wedge and separating us further, in my opinion. this is the type of energy that we hold, in holding that belief, that we are judging those who believe, otherwise to what we believe is true. On the counter, in choosing both sides and choosing none, we are choosing togetherness and trust in the good of humanity. We trust that the intentions of humans, underlying everything that we have done that may not be so good and so pure. And of course, humans are capable of both beautifully pure things and horrendous acts. But underneath all of that, we trust in the purity and the goodness of each and every one of us, the goodness of humanity. It is my feeling that we are not innately evil or greedy or wanting to do harm towards each other. This is my belief. So I believe in the goodness that is inherent in all humanity. So I choose no sides, and I choose both. And I think that, look, in thinking about it this way, again, it's a level of trust and faith in us eventually being able to do the right thing, for the greater collective. And what else has it also taught me is that it has given me a greater depth and understanding of what love and empathy truly means, At the start, I was talking about the challenges that we all move through this year. And I think that, challenges are inherent in the human experience, regardless of whether we're moving through a pandemic or not. You've heard these sayings like life is hard and things like this. And I think that we, really may undersell and discount the real value and in these types of statements and how true they are, I think that these types of decisions that people are making, if we think that they are, harmful towards the collective humanity and society and things like this, if that's what we believe, and we question why that people do this, and we want to fight against them and things like this, I think about the level of empathy in being able to at least attempt to put myself in those people's shoes, whether they're politicians, scientists, doctors, media personnel, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. People like you and I as well, they are operating out of a place of, not knowing, confusion, fear, anger, hurt, pain. We are not the only ones that are feeling this. Everyone is. And it seems that everyone deals with it in a different way, right? And some people act differently than others. But who can really judge or condemn someone for acting from a place of, potential survival, the feeling of survival, If people are so scared that they move a certain direction, or they are so afraid, or they are so angry, or they are so hurt or pained by what is happening, or have pained or been hurt in the past, so that they do act the way that they do. It has shown me, like I say, a deeper level of empathy for those who I feel even think are doing what I do not believe in. They are still moving through the human experience, which is no easy task in itself. And of course, we cannot be perfect in this. And this is why we do things that not everyone will be happy with. And to me, this is the true meaning of, or having a deeper sense of what love means, right? to be able to truly step into the shoes of the people that we are condemning, and at the very least, acknowledging that they themselves are having a difficult time at this thing called life, and even trying to understand just a little bit that we are all doing it tough in some way. We are all, courageous and brave in our own ways, in simply, walking and taking our next steps and continuing living in this ever increasingly complex thing we call life and modern society, So this is the reflection that I suppose I wanted to share, and perhaps it might spur you to want to make the similar reflection to yourself, and pose this to others, and to see what this year has really taught you, or what sort of insights you can take from this year, and perhaps how we can, move away from this, mode of operation that is, perhaps well-intentioned, but still contributing towards the division of humanity, when more than ever, this is the time when we need to come together and, harmonize and be in union than ever before. So how do we contribute towards togetherness, harmony and union, more than divisiveness and separateness? It's been a wonderful year. Thank you for joining me on the journey. I really appreciate all the support out there. Big blessings and love to you and yours. Stay safe, and until the next time.